As always, I am so delighted to welcome you to another episode of Mould Breaker Empowerment Forum. Today, I continue my 6-part series on relaunching from ground zero for success in health. Relaunching from ground zero for success in health. And we are reminded that health is the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease. In the 2 previous segments of this 6-part series, I focused on the physical domain of health. And in this segment and the segment that follows, our focus will be on mental wellness. I select to use the term mental wellness as opposed to mental health because when we hear the word mental health, we automatically go along the path of mental illness. And that's naturally okay, I guess, because when we look up the term mental health, what we find are descriptions of what is mental illness. But since health is not merely the absence of disease or infirmity, then we will conclude that mental wellness is not merely the absence of a mental disorder, and there are several forms of mental illnesses that are found within the global population, including us here in the Bahamas. And so we're going to look at the complexity of mental wellness. Our mental domain, that component of our existence, we are made up of the mental, the physical, and the social, as the World Health definition of health so suggests. Our mental capacity, however, comprises our thoughts, our emotions, and our social connections. Can you believe that? Do you see how mental health is tied into our social health? Yes, it is impossible for us to segment the aspects of our physical, mental, and social existence. They are intertwined. And so, when we look at our mental component, the mental component of our existence, we realize that our thoughts, our beliefs, and the environmental signals that are exchanged moment by moment as we go through each day, from the moment we awake to the moment we fall asleep again, we have a circuit that's going continuously, thought processes. And connected to those thought processes are our emotions. And these emotions, thought processes, are the results of stimulus from the environment. And then the connection between our social being is that we are not able to exist outside of being connected to our environment, the people in the environment, the culture, the atmosphere, whether it is physical, chemical, or emotional. They are all so connected that sometimes it is difficult to separate or even to distinguish where one thought process originates and where another actually merges in with it or coexists. So it is very, very difficult. So the science of psychology deals with our thought processes, and the persons that study in that discipline are concentrating on understanding our thought processes, how they tie into our emotions, how the environment factor in, and how our socialization processes also affect who we are mentally. And you know what is so important about this all is that our mental affects our physical as well as our social. And that is why the World Health Definition says that health is a complete state or a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. You cannot separate your physical from your mental nor your social. And so that brings us to a very important point, and that is coming to terms, going to ground zero to understand who we truly are. Who we are is more than what is seen. It is a part of our journey through life. What we have been taught, what we perceive, what we communicate, how we respond to interactions with people and the environment. And so, if we look at what is normal as it relates to mental wellness and what is abnormal, that is how we come to appreciate why when we look up the term mental health, what we get are descriptions of or classification of mental disorders. And I don't know about you, but as we interact with people, when we are different, people tend to think that something is wrong with us. But is this necessarily true? We are indeed unique. We have a disposition that is uniquely ours. And then we have a spectrum of states. On one end, we are extremely happy, and on the other end, we are extremely sad. And we can use this spectrum for placing us in every aspect of our lives, whether it's physical, mental, or social. Negative on one end, positive on the other. And these are the variations. We move across that spectrum from day to day in mental terms. Some days we are very happy, other days we are very sad, and then for most days we are traveling in between the happy and sad. And those states are influenced a lot by our beliefs, by our interactions, by the environment, the behavior of others. And so what you see is there is an internal component and there is an external component, and we are constantly seeking to establish balance where we are at the middle of the road, where we try to establish that state of contentment. In the absence of that state, we can dwell on the very sad experiences of our lives, or we can opt to focus on those positive things. So what is that saying to us? It is actually saying that our mental health, our state of being balanced mentally, is a matter of choice. But is it really a matter of choice? Not altogether. Because remember, our mental is tied into our emotions. It's also tied into our social circumstances. And so, yes, we do have a choice, but it is not as simple as it sounds. Yes, we do have choices, but being social beings that we are, our social environment plays a major role. How we have been socialized, what we have been taught, and what we believe all factor into our state of mental well-being. And so therefore, it begins from the time we enter this earth, which suggests that the role that our parents and our community play factors in to our ability to develop and grow as resilient individuals. And when I say resilient, I mean that when we are traveling between the extremes of sad and happy, we are able to somehow move positively towards the middle ground, where we are able to function, we are able to interact, we are able to coexist with others without there being any strain, any discomfort, any disagreement, any hatred, jealousy, rebellion, vexation, all these things. The middle ground is where we are more inclined to move towards the positive end of being happy, content, peaceful, encouraged, amiable, likable, and agreeable. So what does it say to us? It says to us that, as the saying goes, no man is an island. It means that we must be cognizant of our environment, the environments that we create in our homes, in our schools, in our churches, in our community, in our workplaces, because they are the environments in which we find ourselves from day to day. And that takes us now to individual one-on-one communication and interaction within those environments. And the pressures, the acceptance, the rejection, all of the things that we encounter in those environments affect us either positively or negatively. And if they are overwhelming, what happens? If we don't have the resilience, if we don't have self-esteem, confidence and the affirmation of our family members, they will eat away at us at the core. So while we are working, we have discontentment. When we are sleeping, we are wrestling, we are having nightmares, we're dreaming, we're dreading the next encounter. And what does that do? It affects us physically. It makes us dwell on the negative, and the negative then creates some chemical responses in our bodies that puts us down the path of negative. So our health now becomes compromised. What can we do about that? We see the connection. We see that mentally our well-being is dependent on internal and external forces. And what we need to be able to do now is to identify some tools, some strategies, some techniques whereby we are able to establish balance, where we are able to function without any repercussions to ourselves and those around us. We have come to this point where we need to home in on who we are as individuals, how we fit into the world around us, our family, our workplace, our church and social networks, and our community. We must go now to ground zero and assess who we are. How are we feeling emotionally? How are we feeling socially? How are we feeling psychologically? What are the things that are contributing to the way we perceive ourselves, the way we perceive others? What can we do to improve ourselves where we are feeling loved, where we are feeling appreciated, where we are feeling respected? All of these are important if we are to establish balance in a state of mental well-being. So we are now at ground zero, because it is at ground zero that we will find the answers to these questions. And when we find the answer as to why do I feel happy? Why do I feel sad? Why am I constantly unhappy? Why am I constantly sad? Why does it feel as if I have no hope, as if no one loves me? Is it in my belief, or is it a reality? What has contributed to this feeling? Yes, at ground zero, we are self-assessing. We are looking at our family. We are looking at our thought processes. We are looking at our interaction with others. And we are seeking, are they healthy? Are they skewed? Are they messed up? Simply messed up. How can I change it? How can I break this mold and break free from this feeling? If you're in a sense of balance and feeling happy, peaceful, and loved and appreciated and respected, you are in a good place. And all you need to do is focus on what is it that I have done? What is it that the environment is doing for me, and what is it not doing for my brother or sister or neighbor that they are not experiencing what I am experiencing? Is that necessary? Yes, because what happens to anyone else in your environment will no doubt affect you, despite how happy and well balanced you are, unless you remove yourself from that environment and find one that is filled with people that share the same experience that you do. But of course, as humans, it is almost natural that we have compassion for our brothers and our sisters, especially when we would have shared good memories with them in the past, and suddenly they have deteriorated and they are no longer enjoying life the way that they used to. Yes, that is your concern. Yes, you do have a responsibility to help those and pull them up from their state of unhappiness and help them to reestablish themselves in a place where they can function effectively and flourish. So in my next segment, we will discover how to break the molds that keep us in the state of mental unwellness. We all go through shifts of in and out, moments of feeling ecstatic and feeling melancholy or a little sad. So we're going to discover in our next segment how we can maintain, establish, and recover in order for us to flourish in a state of mental well-being. I am your mold breaker doc, Audrey Mellayne, and I say thank you for joining me in this segment today. And I invite you to join me again next week when we will take on part 2 of relaunching for mental wellness, returning to ground zero and relaunching for success. Mental, physical, and emotional well-being are essential for us to flourish. As we wrap up today, I invite you to begin to take an assessment of where you are mentally, physically, and socially. And next week, we will begin to see how we can soar to new heights. Take note of where you are so that when you come next week, you will be able to move forward towards being holistically well, mentally, physically, and socially. Thank you for joining me, and be sure to hit me up on my Facebook page, via Twitter or YouTube, and let me know what else can be done, what else you would like to know. If there is any aspect of the presentation that has triggered a question for you, be sure to ask, and I will do my best to provide you with an answer. Until then, take care of yourself and remember, self-love is the best love that you can give to the world.